Brown, the court analyst, and I am Jesse.
Travis.
And today we're here to talk about the Atlanta Hawks and the Washington Wizards. In Game 1, we've seen the Wizards pull away a home court advantage from the Hawks. So how do you think they can respond to this? And did they really play as bad as it seems?
And I think there was a tale of two halves definitely in Game 1 with the Washington Wizards and the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks in the first half came out with continuing their hot shooting efforts from Game 6 against the Nets. And DeMar Carroll specifically has provided an offensive spark, hitting 5 of 6 from 3, getting to the free throw line with and ones out in transition. In the second half, the Hawks just went ice cold from the perimeter and relied a little bit too much on jump shots instead of really trying to make a conceded effort to get to the free throw line, because the pace of the game, it slowed down tremendously between the two teams, and it really became more of a half-court offensive game, which favored the Washington Wizards. I think that the Hawks, offensively in the first half, they were really playing Hawks basketball, turning the ball over multiple times in each offensive possession, making the extra pass, finding the open man. But in the second half, it became a little bit more of a 1-5 pick and roll between Al, Perro, and Jeff Teague. And it came a little bit too much dribble drive as Washington was giving Atlanta the mid-range and the three-pointers as the Atlanta Hawks just went ice cold from 3.
Now, the thing I've seen from the first half, it was all Bud Ball. You've seen it all over the gameplay. It was him making the calls. But the second half, you've seen a little more, less passive. You've seen the one kick, shoot. That's really not how they play. They like to pass the ball. That's why they had 18 assists in the first half and only 8 in the second. You know that's not how they play. But the thing is, I've seen the benches has to step up for the Hawks, because the Washington Wizards, they came in and they did their role. They played like they wanted to, and they made shots.
Absolutely. I think the bench play between both teams are definitely going to be key in this series. With the Atlanta Hawks, specifically Mike Scott, and the contributions between Mike Scott and Kent Bazemore were that minimal at that. 9 bench points, I think, total for Game 1. With the Atlanta Hawks, consider that to 23 bench points for the Washington Wizards. That is an advantage going in favor of Washington. So I think going forward, Mike Scott, Shelvin Mack, Kent Bazemore, I think these guys are definitely going to have to contribute offensively, whether that becomes crashing the glass, providing more offensive possessions for the Hawks, or getting energy points from fast break points and hustle points. I think definitely they're going to have to contribute to match the likes of Ramon Sessions and other players like that for Washington coming off the bench.
Now, the thing I seen was they got Al Horford in foul trouble, so Al Horford wasn't playing, but another thing they did, they let Al shoot the mid-range. We know he can knock it down, but he wasn't hitting, so you give him that shot when he's not hitting. And that's the reason they went 15 for 49 shots uncontested. So there's nothing you can really do with that, so maybe lack of confidence shooting from the team as a whole.
Absolutely. I think that definitely Game 2 and going forward in this series, the Hawks will continue to get those same shots and looks that they got in Game 1. They're just going to have to hit them. And I think that you can make a conceited effort to get to the free throw line by attacking the rim, because you cannot rely on jumpers through an entire playoff run and expect to get survive in advance. So I think the Hawks are definitely going to have to come up with ways, whether that be pin down screens or flex screens and cutting, to really get to the free throw line, whether that be with Jeff Teague off screen and rolls, or Paul Millsap and Al Horford in the post, or feeding that high-low that they did all regular season, where Al or Paul will be at the high post and they'll feed one another from that high-low action. So we'll definitely have to see how the Hawks come out in Game 2 and really try to get to the free throw line.
Now, the thing I love about this game is the point guard battle. You've seen Jeff Teague, he had his moments, but he wasn't consistent like John Wall. You have to say that man had 18 points, 13 assists, and in the fourth quarter came, he stayed in the plan where Jeff Teague sort of faded away. You didn't really see much of him.
Absolutely. I think it'll be definitely an interesting battle going forward between these two floor generals. John Wall, who's averaged 13.8 assists a game over the last 4 playoff games, has really been in a facilitating mode. I think John Wall did a tremendous job in the fourth quarter with just making the right play, whether that was coming off the high ball screen and taking that open jumper that the Hawks were allowing him to take and hitting a high percentage of those, or whether it was getting the teammates involved, whether it be Nene or Martin Gortat or Bradley Beal, who contributed highly offensively with 28 points in Game 1. So I think that the battle between John Wall and Jeff Teague will definitely be something to look at going forward.
But the next gets raised the bench point guards. You feel Dennis Schroeder could maybe on any other team maybe actually start, but he really hasn't showed much to where he could show his lightning speed off. He has to do that when they're backup to backup.
I definitely think that when Dennis Schroeder is in the game, I think that he will have to push the ball in transition and really try to get to the free throw line and get to the rim. One of the things he does best is utilizing that quick first step and that speed to really get to the rim and put pressure on the defense. So I think Dennis Schroeder will have offensive opportunities going forward in the series.
But now, this said, Washington stole the game one. How can this series end? What's your predictions?
I definitely think I had the Hawks coming back and winning in 6 games because I think that they're a better team. I think that they got the shots that they wanted in game one. They just did not hit a very high percentage of them, and I think the Hawks are very, very poised. You know, they don't get too high, they don't get too low. They just stick to the process and they honor the process. So I think that even with the likes of a superstar duo between Bradley Beal and John Wall, who are two of the better guards in the Eastern Conference, I think that the Hawks as a whole, they do it by committee, and I think that they will prove to be a little bit too much and a little bit too offensively efficient for the Washington Wizards to take over in the series.
Now, I feel in this series, though, my MVP for the Hawks has to be Paul Millsap. He has to show up. He has to get boards, get everybody else involved if you want the Hawks to win. But on the Washington side, the MVP has to be Bradley Beal. If he's shooting the way he's shooting, they're a dang good team to stop.
Absolutely. Bradley Beal is definitely one of the better three-ball shooters in the league. He gets to the free throw line. He plays very, very good defense. He's active on the glass. So I think how the Hawks will go into defending him in Game 2 and Game 3 moving on for this series, I think you may see a little bit of DeMar Carroll on Bradley Beal to slow him down to a degree to nullify his three-point shooting and to make him take it to the rack.
And there you have it from Round the Court Analyst. I'm Jesse.
Travis.
And have a wonderful day.